So welcome everybody. Today I'm going to be talking about forms. Yes, it's boring, it's dull, but at the end of the day it has to be done. And the thing is, when you first get started, or even if you've already started, tweaking your form till it works perfectly for you can be a bit of a grind. I remember when I first started doing this, it was like, really? I need all this? But now that I've got it all sorted out and printed and all that sort of stuff, it's just so easy. I just keep on printing it. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about your forms. Okay, so please, if you're out there, give me some love hearts. So here, check this out. Whoop, whoop, give me some love hearts. Give me a like and things like that. If you're watching this on YouTube, then please hit that subscribe button. Just tap it, click it with your mouse, do whatever you need to do, and also tap on the bell so that every time we upload a new video, you'll get a notification about the awesome free training that's available. So please tap on that, and the more people that we get subscribing, the more we can keep the content for free. So otherwise from that, hey, let's talk about some forms. So, as much as it can be boring, forms are an essential part of running your service. So, the following forms are what you will need to get started, okay? So, you can get all the rest in the modern mentoring if you would like to. I'm going to take you through the intake form today. So, you're going to need intake form, release of information form. So, the release of information form is when you're going to be working with referrals like doctors and specialists and things like that. So, you need to be able to release the information and get permission from your client to release that information. I actually work with the parole officers here in Mount Gambier, so I use the release of information form quite a lot. You also will need no harm contracts, so people, excuse me, will not go on to harm themselves in the future. This also comes in handy when you're get a client that wants to cancel their service for whatever reason, and you're like, okay, so we're going to bring out the no harm contract so that way they can sign it off, and they've basically signed off that they are fully sane and that they're good to go, etc., 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 and they're not going to harm themselves anymore. You also need forms for payment information. So what is the payment policy, how does it all work, and how do they understand what's going on. Cancellation of service forms as well. This one hit me as a double whammy. Like, I never even had one, and all of a sudden I had a client that wanted to cancel, and I was like, whoa, what do I do here? What do I do? And then I rang up my debit company, like, oh yeah, you need this form and blah blah blah. And I was like, oh shit, more forms? You kidding me? You also need things like your privacy policy as well, that has your mobile phone services in it, where you're registered, your licensing, if you have any of that sort of stuff in it as well. So today I'm going to take you through the intake form. If you are part of the Essential Hypnosis training, you can tap on the link and get on that. And the form is available in the manual for you to mirror, sort of thing. And it's a form that I've created over the years, and I just love it because it actually works. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to take you through it. So I've included the example of the intake form for you to mirror. I have no issues with you whatsoever if you would like to take inspiration from it. So this is a breakdown of my client intake form. The full form, like I said before, is available in the manual in the Essential Hypnosis course. So you can tap on the link for that. So the client intake form. The last and first name. The reason why the last name comes first is so that you can file it appropriately, because you can't have a million Trishas and then try and work out their last name, okay? Sometimes this stuff sort of seems a bit no-brainer-ish, but, if you don't know it, you don't know it. It's as simple as that. So you also want to have the date of birth on there as well. I have a email campaign that goes off for my clients when it comes to their date of birth, and they get a free relaxation hypnosis. So that really helps with my email campaign. I want their address as well, so that when I put it into my system, I know that everything's okay. Yes, I have had to use that address before to contact them, say, hey, this is owed or something like that. And I've had to, go to the address and make sure they were fine. I do a lot of assistance, outside assistance when it comes to suicide prevention and stuff like that. And I've had people ring me and say to me, look, Trish, I'm going to kill myself. And I've whipped out the file and I'm like, look, I'm just going to pop over if that's okay, and just make sure that you're fine. I've whipped out the file, I've got the address, and I've gone over and, done a suicide prevention sort of thing. I want their mobile phone and their email address so I can contact them via, I have reminder texts that go through my scheduling systems and things like that. So I need all of that information. I also need to know their occupation. The reason why I want to know their occupation is because I'm sort of gauging stress levels here. So what kind of occupation they're in. Most people have a basic knowledge of occupations and the stress levels that are going on, and whether it's full-time work, part-time work, casual work, because that way, when I'm having the client write down the form in the intake, I also know, can they afford my service? Because, I actually have quite a lot of people that are on unemployment benefits, and I've just had to rearrange their payments for them so that it works not only for me, but for them as well. So I need to know their occupation. Like if I get someone, they're like, oh, I'm a full-time truck driver, I'm like, right, now I know I'm probably dealing with an insomnia level here, bad eating habits, stressful environments, long days, and things like that. So the occupation can really give you a heads up as what to the client might actually be suffering from that they don't realize that they're suffering from. I also want to know, are they currently on any medication? Because there is some medication out there that it's so strong and it's so heavy that they're not going to be able to concentrate with the hypnosis or things like that. So I need to know, are they on any medication? I also need to know, like, I've had people that are anaphylactic and are on EpiPens or asthmatic and things like that. I need to know that stuff because if something happens inside my clinic or at one of my conferences or things like that, I need to be able to tell the ambulance this stuff and, let them know, hey, they're on this, blah, 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 and do that. I actually had a gentleman have a stroke in my room and I whipped out his form super fast. I got on the phone, was talking to the nurse. I said he's on this and this and this and this, and, gave them the whole criteria. And it was one of those things that actually saved his life in the end because I knew what to do and I had all the information there. I was lucky I had his wife's phone number and things like that, and I could ring her and I'm like, look, this has happened. He's safe now. He's on his way to the hospital, etc., etc., etc. So you need to know this sort of stuff. If you've got clients that have got IBS, you need to know what kind of medication they are on because the medication for IBS is actually worse than the IBS itself. So why are they on that medication? You are never ever to tell your client to come off their medication. That is their doctor's job, not yours. But at the end of the day, if they say to you, I would like to come off my medication, you can look up the medication, find out the side effects that they're going to go through once they come off it. Some medications actually require a dwindling off where they've got to take just a little bit less each time. You can't go cold turkey on it because the body will, start to fit or convulse or something like that. So make sure you know what medication they're on and get a little bit of education about medication as well. It's good to know about some of the basic, antidepressants and anti-anxiety medications, the SSRI, neuralizers and things like that, so that way, when clients talk about it, you know something about it. So, if they are a yes to medication, why was it prescribed? Because let's say, for example, I get a client who has IBS and they're on an SSRI neuralizer, and that's actually an antidepressant medication, but your client may not actually know that. And they're like, oh, I'm on Prozac because apparently it helps with my symptoms of IBS. And it's like, well, it's also an antidepressant. So why did the doctor prescribe that for them, sort of thing? So you know that you might have some other information going on here that the client hasn't actually told you about. Maybe they don't want to tell you that they've got anxiety or depression, and this can help break the ice towards that. I also want to know, are they currently under the care of another therapist? So I know majority of the psychologists and counselors and things like that inside my local community, and some of them I have very high opinions of and some of them not so high opinions of. So I want to know, are they under the care of another therapist? Because if it is a counselor or something that I don't have a high opinion of, then I need to know how can I help them to improve that. I'm not going to tell them to not go to that person, because they're a douchebag or whatever. But I know of some of the external therapies that they're actually going to instead. So I will actually ask them, are you under the care of another therapist? And a therapist doesn't necessarily mean to be a psychologist or anything like that. It might be just be a massage therapist or something like that. So I just need to know that information. So are they taking care of themselves on other levels as well? The next question is, have you ever had hypnosis before? Yes or no? What kind of experience have they had with hypnosis? Because if they've had a yes and then they've failed at quit smoking, it's like, all right, I want to know about the experience, who they went to, and why they believed it didn't work. So that way I can go into those limited beliefs, which you can learn more about in the modern mentoring, and I can help shift those limited beliefs. So have you ever had hypnosis before? And if it's a no, then it's a no. This is really good because you can start to explain to them all about the balloons and the convincers and stuff like that. You have to take them through that process. I also ask, are you a smoker? Even if they're coming for anxiety, depression, I still need to know if they are a smoker, because there are triggers that are coming in. Are they poisoning their mind and body in some way, shape, or form that, they may not believe that the smoking is causing the anxiety, that the smoking is actually relieving the anxiety or something like that. So they may not even, recognize that, but I still need to know that as well. And it's also a really good heads up to spray your room with a bit of lemongrass as well, because guess what? Smokers are stinky. It's just that simple. The other thing I also want to know is their alcohol consumption. Like, what is their alcohol consumption like? Because alcohol is a big indicator of, repressing memories and making the brain go numb and things like that, bad habits, self-jeopardization and things like that. So I want to know what that is like. Do they have an addiction that they don't see is an addiction, sort of thing? Are they going to go have the hypnosis and then drink a whole bottle of white wine to relax themselves rather than learning to use the relaxation techniques of their mind? From here, I then go into describe your quality of sleep. I need to know the quality of sleep, because when you go into adding value, that's available later on in this course, you can add value by adding in a sleep hypnosis for them for free to help them out. It's like, nothing heals the body more than a really good night's sleep. So, what is their sleep like? If they have got really poor sleep, then chances are it's not going to be a once off session. They need to learn to relax more and they can learn to heal themselves. So this might be more of an anxiety depression client than a weight loss client. So you need to know the quality of sleep. If they've got good sleep patterns, then chances are they've got a healthy diet or something like that, and they're really looking after themselves. But in saying that as well, you might have a client that goes, yeah, I've got really good sleep patterns, but they're morbidly obese, but they're still waking up tired. So now I need to send them off to the doctor and say, look, can you just get a sleep apnea test for me and ensure that you are looking after yourself properly? So I need to know all of this sort of stuff. And also when it comes to sleep, people think hypnosis is sleep. So that some of them can say, oh, well, I hope the hypnosis can help me sleep a bit. So I know that I've probably got a client that's not going to relax really fast. So I probably need to do a really long induction, or do an induction like that's in your manual, but just talk really slowly, like that stealth method where I just bore them. So you might have to do that. So, you can get a lot just out of that one question. I also want to know, have they suffered from any of the following? So, have they suffered from depression or anxiety? The reason why I want to know that is because, like I said, they may not be a weight loss client. Maybe they're a depression anxiety client that needs weight loss put on the end after they've gotten rid of the depression part. And then who diagnosed them with depression and anxiety? Was it Dr. Google? There's a lot of Dr. Googlers out there these days. Or was it their doctor? I want to know, do they have chronic insomnia as well? Like, are they not sleeping for days on end? Do they have any phobias or addictions as well? So, an addiction can be just a food addiction. It doesn't necessarily need to be a drug addiction as such. Do they have any compulsive disorders like OCD or anything like that? Because I need to be able to get them to relax. So I probably need to use a confusion technique with a compulsive disorder, just so the brain just doesn't start analyzing too much. Do they have any drug abuse? So if somebody is perhaps on ice or speed or something like that, that's going to inflict on the hypnosis too much. I'm not going to take them on board unless they are clean, or they're willing to get clean, or they're getting the support of it. Are they schizophrenic? I don't personally work with schizophrenics, and I don't recommend that you do when you're starting out either, unless you get the training for it. And I just don't personally do it. They're too hard to predict, and we don't have the evidence that hypnosis will help with schizophrenics just yet, because the mind is working on much different levels as well. So if my client has schizophrenia, I will finish off the free consult that I always do, and then I will explain to them why hypnosis is not appropriate for you. Do they have any eating disorders? So when we're talking about eating disorders, do they perhaps not eat all day and then only eat one meal at the end? Or do they eat in their sleep or something like that? So what kind of eating disorders do they have? So that I know with the weight loss that perhaps need to change that up a bit, that they're, to learn to trust themselves, or to perhaps eat more regularly so they don't do that gorging sort of thing. So what kind of eating disorders do they have? Do they have bipolar disorder? I personally don't work with anybody who has bipolar unless they have a referral from their doctor saying yes, they are completely okay to have hypnosis. And it's only because with bipolar, they can be high 1 minute and low the next. I only work with very mild bipolar disorders. And if they have bipolar, I actually ask them about their medication. When was it last changed up? When did they last have a check and things like that? Because I had one particular lady that in my very early days, she had bipolar disorder, had it for 20 years and was still on the same medication. And I'm like, what, the doctor hasn't changed it up or, checked it out or anything like that? And she goes, no. She goes, I go every couple of months. He just keeps saying to take it. And I said to her, go and get a second opinion about that. And once she'd gone and gotten a second opinion, because she was still having these bipolar situations, once she'd gone and gotten a second opinion, they changed up her medication, and then all of a sudden she felt so much better. It's just that doctor had gone into such a state of stigma that he was just like, look, just get this client in and get him out again. So they changed up her medication. She ended up coming to me. She's now off the medication and she feels fantastic. So when clients with bipolar, if they're not changing up their medication or seeing their doctor regularly, then recommend that they go get a second opinion, or they go get a health check of some sort. Personality disorders like split personalities and things like that, I don't work with these people. I'm not trained to do that. There is a time and place to know when your hypnosis is relevant and when you're just biting off more than you can chew. So there's just certain things that I don't do. And, have your standards about yourself, know what you're good at, and leave the rest alone. So, I don't take on drug abusers or schizophrenics and things like that, because I'm not trained for it, and I'm happy to admit that. So when you're starting out, just take on your simple weight loss clients and things like that, and help out those people. And then when you get more advanced training, that's when you can decide what kind of clients do you want to work with. And maybe you want to work with children, maybe you want to work with only pregnant women or something like that. So find out about that. And I also ask them, is there anything else that they feel that they're suffering from? Because somebody might have anxiety but they've said no, but they're like, oh, but I get nervous all the time and I get the shake. So that is a form of anxiety, but your client is not calling it that. That's what they're calling it in their structure of reality, as you learnt about in the very first starting part of this course. So learn about that, and just learn what they're calling it as such. And I asked them, what do you expect that we can help you with? Because when it comes to hypnosis, we can do, two birds with one stone. Perhaps you want to do a whole project instead of just a once-off session or something like that. So I asked them, is it performance anxiety or relationship stress, quit smoking, weight loss? Because you'll get a lot of clients that will be like, I want to quit smoking and do weight loss. And I say to them, I'm like, okay, no worries, but we have to do the quit smoking first, because some clients will actually gain 1 or 2 kilos with the quit smoking, and then we'll do the weight loss. So there's no point in doing the weight loss first, then the quit smoking, even if, the weight loss is more important to the client. So I asked them, what do you want help with, so that, we can work this out and we'll knock it all over at once. So I asked them, what do they want help with? And maybe the client just came in for weight loss and then they've turned around and they've gone, oh, you do pain as well. Oh, well, I definitely want help with that too. It's like, awesome. We'll work with the pain first, then we'll do the weight loss. So, sell a whole package if you need to your clients. I want to know, how did they find out about us? So whether it was the internet, the Google, doctor's referrals, all that sort of stuff. I want to know where my advertising is working and, what's going around there. I also say to the client, for future check-ins on how you're going, is it okay if we contact you? So, we'll add you to our email list and you can get newsletters and things like that. And they're like, yes, no, blah, blah, blah. From here, I say, please note, cancellations with less than 24 hours of the appointment will still be charged as the full appointment amount, and loss of appointments purchased. Do you agree? and they all agree. If they don't agree, then that's fine. I'm not taking them on as a client, because with less than 24 hours notice, I know that there are emergency situations, but with less than 24 hours notice, it's really inconvenient for my business. Then from here, you'll notice in the manual there's a full spiel all about terms and conditions and stuff like that. Feel free to mirror that if you want to. That cost me over $300 to get a lawyer to write that up, so feel free feel free to mirror it if you like and save yourself some pennies. And then after that, I get them to sign, print their name, and date it. That's the full intake form, and then I file that away in my filing cabinet that locks. You have to have it lockable these days, and I file all of that away. So check your legalities for forms in your state, as each one is different, okay? So make sure that your legalities are, refined, sort of thing. In Australia, all documents must be in a locked filing cabinet, and all digital files must be password protected. So if you're working with clients in the UK, you must be GDPR compliant. It is the law. So that's known as the General Data Protection Regulation. You must do that. So if you are working with clients in the UK, or if you have clients from the UK, you're working with them via Zoom, online, or even in person, you must have a GDPR policy. It is the law. And if you don't have one, then I suggest you get educated about it. We have e-education on that in the Modern Mentoring as well. You don't want to get stuck with that one, because it'll just destroy you. So please join me in the next video. I'm going to start talking about cognitive behavioral therapy. This is where we get into the deeper stuff, okay? These are known as CBTs, and this is where your client does work outside the sessions from when they're with you. And like I said before, please subscribe, and please tap that subscribe, click it, whatever you need to do, and hit the bell as well if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're watching this on Facebook, please give me a like, thumbs up, comment and all that sort of stuff, because the more people we get on board in this, the more I can keep the content going for free. So otherwise than that, please join me next time. I'm going to be talking about cognitive behavioral therapy and how you can help your clients outside of the session. Otherwise than that, have an awesome day. Bye-bye.